This video is brought to you by Humble Pie.
Mr. Dotrieve, am I adopted?
This is the first I've heard of it.
Hello y'all. Sorry for the unusual video, but I wanted to make a quick little thingy here talking about a mistake I made in my last review, specifically my analysis of this line from Hank.
Peggy would not be included in any guardianship situation.
As many people were quick to point out, this line, spoken to Bill after he's just been going on a little bit of a flan scenario of staying up in bed with Peggy to pick out colleges for Bobby, is almost certainly not what I thought it to be. And I believe the confusion hinges on one word in particular, that word being included. The way that I was taking it, I was interpreting this to mean that Peggy would not be included, also known as being excluded from the guardianship of Bobby Hill, meaning that she would effectively be prohibited from interacting with her son if Hank died. And oh, how horrible, how awful, how out of character that would be for Mr. Hill, bleh! But through the efforts of you fine folks, my attention was drawn to the more accepted and likely intended use of the word, where included means that Bobby and Peggy aren't part of a package deal of guardianship. It's more like saying batteries are not included or the controller is not included. Like, Peggy doesn't come with Bobby, no more than guide booklets come with video games anymore these days, which is a tragedy akin to the loss of the Library of Alexandria, something that really just hurts my heart so much. The batteries not included view is the far more palatable and reasonable interpretation of this scene, and it is a firm but compassionate way of telling Bill that Peggy is not a Bobby accessory.
I'll take the boy. The widow Hill is on her own.
You got a deal.
All right.
And even while writing the original script to Propane Boom Part 2, I was somewhat perturbed by my own conclusion, as I even said in the video, quote,
Like, am I mishearing this or something? Have I wandered into some alternate universe where just, words don't mean words anymore? They're just like these things that we make, these sounds that don't mean anything.
However, I would somewhat defend my original interpretation of this line for 3 reasons. Number 1, it is not grammatically or contextually incorrect to take this line how I did. It just doesn't mesh emotionally or align with what we know about Hank's character, although there can obviously be lines that stray outside of what we think the character's typical thought process to be like.
A man should not be judged by the color of his skin, but by the actions of his heart. I tell you what. You know, that Shane Wasana-song must know all kinds of oriental martial arts, and you beat him with good old American YMCA know-how.
Reason number 2, considering the touch-and-go financial status of the Hills, it isn't unthinkable to believe that Peggy would be incapable of supporting herself and Bobby on a single income, especially since they were on the verge of losing the house when Hank got fired from his job. It may just be a simple hard truth that a solo caretaker scenario just isn't in the cards, considering Peggy's low-paying job, meaning that Peggy cannot be included functionally in the guardianship of Bobby's whole caretaking thing, which is a crushingly depressing thought, perfect for the dour mood of Propane Boom, wouldn't you say? But the biggest reason I'd say that I prefer my reading is that it is darkly humorous to think that Hank would have such a strange hang-up about single parents, maybe even in the same way that Cotton apparently hates adopted children, or that he would seriously doubt Peggy's ability to care for their son. And hey, you know, if there's one thing that I've learned in all of my time reviewing King of the Hill, it's that people love little jabs like that at Peggy and her incapability of functioning as a proper human being, a love that almost reaches a concerning degree.
Hey there, Hank's wife. What's your grind for? Got your monthlies?
But with all of that said, here's the point in the video where I have to do the hardest thing that any content creator can do, the thing that audiences are most likely dreading me to say, and something that I don't think a lot of you are going to accept. Here's where I have to apologize for being wrong, and I do, I really am. I am sorry that I did not maintain the, well, let's call them the dubious standards that you've come to expect from me and my videos. And even though I could easily fall back on my smart aleck rhetorical stance of like, hey man, every interpretation is valid, even the stupid ones like mine, or do what's expected of my occupation and just move on without ever acknowledging my faults, that's being a little too recalcitrant and uncooperative for my own conscience. So instead, I will be a normal person and accept the rightful critiques that I have earned. I was not fishing for engagement by being intentionally dumb. I'm not that smart to play that like 4D chess kind of game. I just got it wrong. However, I'm actually really glad that everything worked out the way it did, because let me tell you, I was dreading getting a ton of comments about the heavier subjects of the episode, with people talking about their experiences with loss and grief and their fears of death. Ugh. And it's perfectly alright to do that kind of thing if you want. You can share whatever you like. I was just anticipating several dozen multi-paragraph nightmare stories that would keep me up all night, just like what happened when I jokingly asked you guys to trauma dump your stories in a previous review, which was another terrible mistake on my part because, you guys really over-delivered in that area, so, yeah, whew. But that didn't happen this time, thank God. Instead, my mistake with this line served as a lightning rod away from the crushingly depressing subject matter. And more impressive still, y'all were kind enough to care about a mistake that I made not in the first 5 or 10 or even 20 minutes, but at the 35-minute mark. Like, wow. Do you have any idea how touching it is that you guys would actually pay so close attention and make it so far into the video to reach that point? That's more kind consideration and generosity than I think I've ever gotten in my life, as sad as that sounds. Ugh. And to me, that shows that I'm lucky enough to have an extremely wise, invested, and actively thinking audience, and even if we have fundamental differences in how we approach the show sometimes, it means that we're all here to do the good work of discussion, not just to do summaries or glib retelling of events that we're all familiar with, but engage in the push and pull of evaluation, which I value so much. And hopefully this makes you aware that your view of the show is just as valid, if not more so, than my own, and that there's value in everybody who does critical analysis of the show, even if you're just doing so from the comments section of a video. At the risk of tearing down some of my clout or mystique, or invalidating the work that I've been doing this last year reviewing King of the Hill, I do want to remind us all that I am like nobody special. Like everybody here, I am just part of the discussion around our favorite shows or movies or whatever, just a voice in the crowd. Now, I don't want to make a habit of making videos like this every time I get something wrong in a video, which will happen again, I guarantee it. Hell, even this video itself may have been a grave mistake to make, so I kind of want this thing to serve as a catch-all, a rubber stamp for me and my embarrassing errors. This video isn't an attempt at damage control or as me trying to say like, oh, I was just kidding around you guys, you actually took me seriously when I was pretending to be stupid. No, this is a simple acceptance of myself and my faults. But you want to know something amazing? Something that I actually find a little inspiring and exciting? I took one line out of Hank's mouth, reviewed it to death, and then you all did the same to me. And that, my oh so wonderful friends, is beautiful. That is my mission statement. That is my goal right there. It's right in the title of the channel. I want us all to think, to be, to review. So thank you for everything you do on my behalf, and thank you again for the overwhelmingly warm response to Propane Boom Part 2. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to working on And They Call It Bobby Love. I'm currently trying to puzzle out why Marie says Bobby will not be included in my dancing with all of these guys. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Whew. Until then, we can say that my analysis of Bobby's guardianship situation has indeed been reviewed to death. Thank you all for your endless patience, and I will see you in the next review.
Peggy would not be included in any guardianship situation.
That's a real good one for the 15th time.